hops on, people can just hop on, and that would be
Perfect.
great. So, okay. So welcome, Charlotte. I'm so glad you're here. I'm really excited about this, you guys. In case I don't think I told you guys this, but I met Charlotte through the Maven program, and we actually didn't even know. Have we met before that? I don't think we had.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. Which is I think one of the best perks of the Maven program has been getting to know other leaders, and I shared with them what I was doing here on our team page, and Charlotte was so sweet to say, I'll hop on your team page. And of course I was like, well, sure, and I'll return the favor. And so Charlotte, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how long you've been in Stella&Dot, a little bit about your background, beauty queen, and then about your team and how you got here.
All right. Well, thank you for that nice introduction, and thanks for having me. I currently live in Durham, North Carolina. I just moved here over the summer in the beginning of July. I have been living for the past 4 years previously in central New Jersey, right outside of Princeton, New Jersey, and I'm originally from Charlottesville, Virginia. And I actually started my business 5 years ago when I was living in Charlottesville. So moving to a new place and moving my business isn't new to me. And it's going better the second time around. I learned a lot of trial and error the first time, and so it's nice to have it go even more smoothly this time. Although there are those growing pains, if you will, of meeting new people and building a new network, but it's also really fun and exciting too. So I've been a stylist for 5 years. I do this full time along with working as a Pure Barre teacher part-time. So I've done that in all 3 cities as well. And that's a little bit about me. I have an awesome team of just amazing women, and that's what I love the most about this business is getting to know them and their goals and helping them get to achieve those goals as well.
What is your team name?
The Chain Gang.
Oh, that's so cute.
It is. I can't take credit for it. So my upline, Jess Barons, and I really co-run our team page together. I just never split my team off, and we have a really great vibe with that. And so she created that name, but I think it's adorable. I love it.
Okay, and above Jess is who?
Donna Naylor.
And then
Kelly Cox.
And then Kelly Cox. Okay. Yay.
Yeah. So we're part of Southern Charms.
Okay. Part of the Southern Charms team. And if you girls have been to Hoopla, you've probably, I feel like that's what kind of when all the teams started to make sense for me is when I saw everybody there. So Pure Barre teacher. Oh, and you have to tell them about why you actually are a beauty queen.
Oh, okay. I didn't mention that. So I did actually, I did compete in the Miss Virginia pageant twice. I actually joined Stella&Dot kind of right after I finished with that. Really because I had a lot of time on my hands after being done with all of the preparation and effort that goes into preparing for, a pageant on the state level. And I also love the community aspect too. We have a really similar sisterhood within Miss Virginia. So yeah, if you know any former pageant ladies that you haven't reached out to about being a stylist yet, it's a really good fit. Because it's there's some similarities.
I feel like I'm not fancy enough to have pageant friends.
Girl, you live in Texas. You definitely have pageant friends.
This is true. I feel like Texas gotta have some. I'm surely they're on the show. What's the show with the little girls that are in pageants or something? So you're probably right. All right. So I actually think there are some girls in Texas that
definitely somebody was the Miss Corn Husk Festival or something. The Miss Bull Rider Festival something.
Because we all have horses and cows. Okay, so you're gonna. I was super excited when you said you wanted to hop on and talk to us about creating systems in your business and how that has really transformed your life as a Stella&Dot stylist. So, what has creating systems done for you in your business?
Yeah, so I think systems are so key, and we hear Danielle saying this all the time as part of Maven, the mantra that systems will set you free. And I think that that is so true and so helpful. Because we're in business for ourselves, we're all independent business owners. You know, obviously we know this, we don't have a boss. So there's no one to really hold you accountable besides yourself. Of course, if you have a great pacing group or something like that, that can really help. But like, no one's going to pull you into their office and give you a performance review if you don't, you know, do what you want to do what you said you were going to do to get to the goals that you want to get to. So creating that system is going to give you some structure and framework. And for me, that's what it really did for me. Like I said, when I started as a stylist, it was to, you know, fill this gap that I had. And of course, because I love the jewelry. And I definitely saw the potential of Stella&Dot, but I didn't really necessarily know what my goal was. And probably about a year into the business, I decided, you know, made this really conscious decision that I wanted to take things to the next level, really treat it like a business and turn it into my full-time job. And that's where I really had to implement these systems and give myself some structure to create a system to do the actions that I needed to do to give me the results that I wanted to get. For me, when I really embraced the idea that, you know, of course it's a people business and it's all about relationships, but it's also a numbers game. So it's like a little bit of this blend of the art and the science of it. And when you can mesh those two together, it gives you that structure, and it really is going to set you free and help you consistently get the results that you want.
I love that and I like that you said that it's a blend of the art and the science, because I feel like when you can get really frustrated in your business when you're doing all of the fun things and all of the things that make you happy, like ordering samples and setting up your display and wearing all kinds of cute outfits, and that seems really, really fun, but then you might be frustrated because your business isn't moving forward. Or you get tied down in being a taskmaster and doing all of the tasks and forgetting to have fun with it. So, totally. I mean, figuring out that blend of both of those is difficult. And it sounds like you started your business and you kind of just were like, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do from here. And then all of a sudden, all right, I want to turn this into a business. So you decided that you were going to be more intentional. So what were some of the things that you actually started doing?
Yeah, so I think that understanding what are your income producing activities. So what are the things that you're going to do that actually move your business forward? And yes, there can be things that aren't on that list that you enjoy that are fun, but are you checking those high value activities, those income producing activities? Are you checking those off first? You can almost even use those other fun things as like a deprivation challenge. Like, I can't post on Facebook. I can't look on our Facebook group until I have like done my actions. So that I think is really helpful, just knowing what they are. So basically, if it's not going to help you book or sponsor, then just don't do that first. Don't prioritize that. So always prioritizing booking and sponsoring as the really core pieces of what's going to move your business forward. And then really just doing the reach outs and doing them consistently to book and following our plan to follow up. So I really am a firm believer of like not reinventing the wheel. For those of us who are at the like leader day at Hoopla, and we did that assessment, the fascination advantage, I ranked last in whatever the one, I think it's like innovation, whatever the one is that's like, you come up with creative ideas. That was like my least, which I thought was hilarious, because I was like, yes, that is so me. Like, I'm like, tell me the plan so I can execute it. I don't want to make up like anything fun or do any of that. So that works well for me. So, I really religiously follow, our 10-4 plan that was given to us by home office. I really trust our home office. I think that they have, our best interests at heart, and the tools and the training that they provide, they didn't just like pull this out of thin air. Like Danielle Redner has a very extensive career where she's personally developed businesses so successfully. And then all the other women on that team who are putting together these ideas, they didn't just like make this up. So I'm like, okay, you know better than I do. I'm going to follow the plan. So I really, really religiously follow the plan of reaching out to at least 10 new people a week about booking, and then following the 4 steps to reach out to them. So like that first reach out, following up within 48 hours, within 1 week of the initial reach out, touching base with them again. And then if you still don't hear from them by like a whole nother week, closing the loop. So that has been really amazing. I especially love the 4 of the 10-4. I think we layered that in about, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. And I love that it's a really specific, easy to follow, easy to coach to plan on how to follow up. I think that's something that, I would follow up with somebody maybe once. And then if you didn't hear from them, it was sort of like, well, now what am I supposed to do? So It's nice to have a structure behind that. So you don't either just not follow up with them enough, because of course we know the more that you follow up, that probability that you're going to at least get some type of response, but whether it's yes or no, increases. But then also you don't want to be that person that's like hounding them, following up. So I love the close the loop piece, that part that like lets them off the hook. But then also lets you're still going to like come back to them later. I think it's a really professional way to follow up, and I think it's really elegant, and it definitely helps us avoid like people running away from us in the grocery store.
Yeah, I love that too. And you are the second person on our calls that have said that they follow the 10-4 program. Jody Brocker said the same thing. So how do you track who you're reaching out to? Because that's a lot of follow-ups. And I know that some of us will start the follow-up process. And so you're reaching out to 10, and how do you, because it's a week later, how are you keeping track of everything?
Yeah, that's a great question. So kind of 2 parts. One is building it into my structure for the week. So I have basically a recurring appointment with myself on Mondays. That's when I do my initial reach outs and some of those like week follow-ups. So I have like an hour blocked off onto my calendar for that. And what I do is actually during the week, I have a list going to where if someone pops into my mind, I add them to my list. So ideally by the time Monday rolls around, I have a full list of who I'm going to reach out to that week. If not, maybe I need to take a few more minutes to just brainstorm who else to add to it. And then that's when I do those reach outs. Then for the 48-hour little touch back in, just to like, it's literally so simple. It's, hey, did you get my text? That type of a thing. I have about 30 minutes blocked off on Wednesdays, and it usually doesn't even take the whole 30 minutes, but it's on its own. So that's one piece of the structure and the system. And then the other part is I'm very low tech with it. I have this binder. This is actually my second binder. Isn't this cute? Steph Miller made this little tracker for Glam.
Is adorable. So you have your Glam tracker on the front, which keeps your goal in mind.
Oh yeah, I've got to I love filling in the little thermometer thing. I'm very motivated by that. And then on the inside, I just keep my list of who I'm reaching out to. And you can see I don't even use the real 10-4 tracker from the lounge because the lines are too small. I don't have enough time to write on that. And I don't even really want to bother with having to print them off. I literally just use a piece of computer paper, 3-hole punch it, and then I just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, blah, blah. Horizontal, I write it across, and then I just note, each reach out that I've done, what the date was. I'll, this one says, if I reach out to them by text or Facebook Messenger, just so that when I go to follow up, I can find where we were talking. so it's very low tech in that way. And then I have an Excel spreadsheet that I use for more of like longer term tracking for like my stylist dream team list and hostess list. So that when I close the loop with somebody, I will go put them onto that list. And that's just who they are, you know, when I reached out to them and like where we left things standing. So that might say like, oh, she's interested in the spring. So that's all in one place where I can refer back to it to future reach out to them later.
Okay, so I love that idea. So you take your 10 for this week and they're actually on a piece of paper. And when you close the loop with all 10 of those, then you move them to a digital like format. And you might go in the next season or 6 months from now and pull 10 more off that digital list. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And that way your piece of paper can travel with you wherever you're going.
Exactly.
Starbucks that week, you know, on Wednesday, if you had a lunch date or something and you had time in the car, you could, Okay. I love that.
And so I'm just very like to me, I think the main thing like with it, like if you're like, oh my gosh, this system sounds awesome, like replicate it. But the point of it isn't necessarily like, it's not because I have a binder that I book shows, right? It's just having a system that works for you. For me, the paper works well because of what you're saying. I like to be able to take it places with me and not necessarily need to have my computer. And I also just like writing things down. It helps me like remember it. But if you love all digital, like just do it, you know, on your computer, however it works for you. And sometimes that might take a little like trial and error of trying something different.
So would you say like how many trunk shows do you think you're booking on touch 1 versus touch 3 or 4?
Oh my gosh, probably like none on touch 1. Maybe like once in a blue moon. That's like a like oh, let's all like do a dance, like unicorn farm thing occurred. So it's definitely on that follow up, and really, you know, I find that when I haven't heard back and when I do finally get in touch with them, it's just because like they've been busy and they didn't get my message, or you know, they looked at it and forgot. Exactly.
Okay, so when, and I can imagine when you feel like you're looking at a goose egg of a month when you've got nothing on the books, which although you're a rock star, you're in the Maven, but you're also human and you probably do have months where you're like, oh my gosh, I've got nothing. Then it's comforting to know, okay, I have a system. Probably haven't been doing my system. I can go back and start my sheet and then start with my 10 on Monday, you know. Do you make that list on Sundays or do you make it on Monday?
It's kind of ongoing throughout the week, so I'll add people to it as I think of them. But then if I need to like add
following Monday.
But yeah, I love the idea of doing it on Sunday and making sure I have that, but that probably just doesn't happen.
Okay, so you're reaching out to 10 a week. Your system for booking is 10 a week. You follow the 10-4. What about sponsoring?
So I really follow a similar system with sponsoring too. And I've been actually kind of playing around with tweaking it a little bit because I'm trying to do a better job of really following the order of offer and offering sponsoring to absolutely everybody. Whereas kind of how I've really always worked my business up until Maven was like, I sort of had 2 different lists. And I was like, if I thought they were a good lead as a stylist, I would start them on that sponsoring list. And then of course, like there's movement over to the hostess list too. If they say no to being a stylist, yes, of course I was offering them a trunk show. What I'm really working on doing is starting with offering the opportunity for all. And so it's kind of like one fluid list now.
Okay. So your list of 10 that we just talked about, would you say you're starting with the sponsoring opportunity then?
Yes. And to be totally honest with you, sometimes it kind of just depends what I need in my business the most. Like if I'm looking at, you know, right now, for example, coming off of a great, with the sponsoring special, I have a bunch of new stylists. So I'm training them and I'm like, okay, I've got to like build up my trunk show pipeline again. So for me right now, my main focus is booking so then I can meet new people to book at those shows. so right now my pipeline is just a little dry with like new people. And part of that is being in a new town. But yeah, in a perfect world, ideally, like I would have like all the trunk shows booked and I would be reaching out to everybody about sponsoring and just adding more shows to the pipeline.
Again, unicorn farm.
Yes.
So. Okay. So you've mentioned that you schedule, like you put something on your own schedule. So how do you time block your time? Do you have certain days that you do certain things, or are you that structured with it, or how do you look at your week and the tasks in Stella&Dot? How do you put them into time blocks?
So it's some of both. It's structured with like the allowing like some fluidity, because I mean, we do this because we want a flexible business, right? But it's definitely when you work, not if you're going to work. And so I find that for myself, even if I have it in my calendar as like this standing appointment of that I'm going to do my reach outs, even if something comes up, I am more likely to say, you know, I'm not just going to cancel that appointment of doing reach outs with myself. First of all, then I would not be doing my job. But then also I wouldn't get the results that I want. So rather than just not do it, it's helping me realize, okay, even though it didn't happen at this exact time, where could I shift it? Can I do it later on Monday? You know, could I do it first thing on Tuesday and get that done and make it happen? So it, you know, my system is there, if the structure's in place, but like life does happen. And so it kind of can roll with it too.
Okay, so I love that. And we actually talked today on our Maven call about how Danielle was telling us that it takes 10 times of doing something before it's actually going to become a habit, and you might actually start to see results. So although putting in a system at the beginning might seem like it's cramping your style or it's a little uncomfortable, or I'm just not in the mood to sit down and do, I'm going to wait till I feel like it. Because I mean, truth is, Charlotte, every Monday, do you feel like reaching out to 10 people?
No.
Probably not. And so, but once you do it 10 times, you've got 10 weeks. I mean, think about that.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. And sometimes I feel like I give up on week 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, when if I would have just stuck it out a couple more weeks, then it becomes more of a habit. So just in general, what do you think has probably been the most transformative thing in your business as far as time mastery tips or things that you have done? Like, what do you think has been the biggest difference?
I think the biggest difference is 2 things. One is just like exactly what you're saying, like sticking with it and letting the results happen, because it's especially with, I think the 10-4 has been the most transformative for me, like as a system, just because it takes out some of that guesswork and it really does work. But for it to work, you do have to stick with it, because it's such a snowball effect where if you do it like, and keeping in mind too, if we're saying, okay, you're not really going to get most of your responses from people until like touches 3 and 4. So that's already in week 3 and 4 of doing it, and you're just starting to see results. So it could be really easy to give up too soon and not let the results occur. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. So you think 10-4 has probably been like having that system.
Oh, and then the other part, I was like, I know there was something else I wanted to say about it. The other part is having some accountability partners. So having a pacing group, or, you know, telling somebody that you're going to do those reach outs, even if they don't necessarily follow up with me, it's like, I feel like I need to tell them like, hey, I did it. So, yeah. So I actually like my week, just a little bit more of the structure. Like I like to think of it as doing those reach outs on Monday. I think of it as me Monday, where I'm doing things for my personal business. And then Tuesdays is Team Tuesday. So I have my coaching call with Kelly to like kick off Tuesday. And then I have coaching calls with other women on my team. So it's nice to know, like going into my coaching call with Kelly, okay, I've done the tasks that I'm supposed to do for this business. I can kind of report back. But then also when I'm talking with my team, I don't want it hanging over my head that like I haven't even done what I'm talking to them about doing. Like that doesn't feel good or like authentic to me at all. So, because how can I help them if I'm not doing what I am suggesting? So that helps me. So even if if I go on my team page even and just do like a little live video, hey guys, here's what I'm working on this week. Like I'll reply to my own video and be like, I did it. Yeah. Because it like feels good to be like, hey, look, I did it. Yeah. So I think having that accountability is really key also.
So what role you brought up a pacing group, what role has a pacing group played for you, and how do you utilize a pacing group?
Yeah, if you think of the idea of a pacing group, like the reason why we call it a pacing group is because if you equate it to a pacing group in running, it's literally the group of people that you want to go the same kind of speed as them. So you're grouped with them so that when you start to lose energy, you're like going to stick with your buddy and keep going. So for me, it's really helped me raise my bar and like have people who are constantly encouraging me and giving me ideas, and to keep the activity at that certain level, because I've got some people that I'm checking back in with. I'm getting these great ideas. And then when you hear, okay, Callie did all her reach outs, and I'm like, oh, I didn't really feel like doing my reach outs, but now I'm inspired to, and I probably should. I'll feel better if I do. So it just helps you keep at the pace that you want to be at.
Right. And not feel like you're alone.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I think some people get intimidated by pacing. Yeah. Because they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be the weakest link. And you're like, no, that's exactly why you need to be in a pacing group, so that somebody will tell you you're not the weakest link. Everybody has days when, you just don't feel like doing it. And you're right. We don't have a boss like keeping us accountable. So I think accountability is a really key thing when it comes to systems, and making that part of your system is that you're on, Wednesdays, you're checking in with your accountability group or whatever it is, in your pacing group. And, and if you don't know how to find a pacing partner, then I can help you with that if you're on my team. So, okay. Those are awesome tips, Charlotte. I love it, love it, love it. I want to give, we're right at 30 minutes. So I want us to give us a few minutes. If anybody has any questions, you could unmute yourself, or I can unmute you, or you could type your question on the side for Charlotte. Anyone have any questions?
I have a quick question. How do you avoid getting sucked into like all the different Facebook team pages and the training calls? And like, for instance, today, I pretty much blocked off my entire day. I was coming home straight from the gym to work, but I had that Inspire call, and then I wanted to watch the Inspire call from last week that I missed. And and then I look up and it's almost time to pick up the kids, and I haven't gotten done what I need to do. So how do you just stay off social media and like only do the things you've set to do that are moving your business forward? Or I don't know, I get sucked in a lot because I want to do all the training and I want to do all the, like, I feel like I just want to learn as much as I can, but some of it is not a time waster, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. I think I think it's really self-aware of you to like realize that that's something that you're doing. And so that's good because it's helping you move forward. And it's all of the training is good, but it's not those income producing activities. And keep in mind too, like the trainings are always recorded. So like, I definitely think there's a value to being able to get on live when you can. But if you haven't done the reach outs, it's the same thing as like what I'm saying about how I don't want to go into like having a coaching call with someone on my team when I haven't done my reach outs yet, because that is the most important thing. So I actually had someone on my team today who's in Inspire as well. And we have a Marco Polo chat going with our Inspire team. And she was like, girls, I want to get on the call today, but I haven't done my reach outs, and that's when my kids are napping. So I'm not getting on the call because I'm going to do my reach outs instead. And I was like, that's amazing. Like that is great advice if anyone else is in that same boat, because yeah, you can watch the recording later. But those reach outs, like they have to get done or you're not going to get where you want to go. And then with Facebook, like I try not to open Facebook. The other thing too that really helps is like like go in like a 30-minute or a 1 hour increment. So like shut off Facebook for 30 minutes and be like, I'm just going to do reach outs for 30 minutes. And then, can you then build up to an hour after that? Because Facebook, you're right, is a total rabbit hole. Like even if sometimes I go on Facebook to be like, oh wait, who's this person that I want to reach out to? Or like, okay, I know she responds via Messenger really well. I still can like lose 20 minutes somehow getting sucked down some rabbit hole. So yeah, it's good to be really mindful of.
Well, I think you could also implement that deprivation thing. Okay, I'm going to listen to the Inspire call when after I have, sat down and done my research. Also try to think of like what I can do when I don't have to be sitting at a computer, and listening to a call is typically one of those things that I can be doing while I'm in the carpool line, or while I'm driving somewhere, or while I'm waiting for a doctor appointment or something like that. Whereas when it's quiet in the house, so those moments are precious. And so maybe utilizing those for your most high value activities, like what is the point of my day? I mean, I also like to think about when I get the best response from people for booking and sponsoring reach outs, and typically they're in the afternoons for me. So sometimes I'll reserve my mornings for catching up on trainings, and then my afternoons for reaching out or something like that. I don't know. Do you think about it in that way too, Charlotte?
Yes and no. I think it's good. Like if you can structure your schedule around something like that, like, yes, that's really smart, because of course it's good to actually be able to like talk to people in real time if you can catch them. But in general, I think the best time to do reach outs is when you can do them. Yep. Like that. I think a lot of people, get really caught up in like, well, is it too late to reach out? Is it too early? Is this a good time? Is it a bad time? And it's like, what if you just actually message them? Like, how about,
you've been thinking.
Yeah, when are you free? Why don't you do it then? But if you can do it in a strategic way and that works through your schedule, sure. Like, yeah, do that too.
Absolutely. Good question, Amy. Anyone else have a question for Charlotte?
You guys can also friend me on Facebook, send me a message if you have anything that you think of later.
Yes, I tagged her in our team. So I added her to our team page, so you can send her a friend request, and I'm going to post the playback as well. And so Charlotte, as people watch the playback, they might also have some questions. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for I love getting a glimpse of what life as a stylist looks like in somebody else's life. Like even you walking us through that is like, okay, yeah, I do some of that. Okay, maybe I could change that. It just, because we all do work independently, it's just nice to get a, peek into what life looks like for a beauty queen as a Stella&Dot stylist.
I'm so flattered.
So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us, and I will make sure to send you the recording to Charlotte so you can share it with your team too.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and thanks for your questions. It was a really fun evening to spend with all of you.
Thanks, y'all. Bye.